And we are live, Dale.
All right, we're here with Ask Junior on the Dale Junior Download. Thanks for tuning in on our YouTube page and supporting us. Andrew Curlin is going to be pulling all our questions together that you have sent in for us. And so, Andrew, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get fired up and go.
Let's do it. This first one is from Michael, and we were just talking about the Daytona 500. How is it different winning the Daytona 500 in 2004 versus 2014?
Well, obviously, two different races. The 2004 win is one of my favorites, man, because I'm going to brag a little bit, but I've posted this on Twitter from time to time, but I love to go back and look and ride on the in-car camera, and they had the throttle, and you can see Tony's leading, I'm running second, and Kurt Busch is a lap car that's behind us. And Kurt was mad at me because we had bumped earlier in the race and he got a flat tire and it put him a lap down, and he was trapped a lap down the entire race. And he was basically, he was basically not going to do anything that was going to help us. He's not going to push me by Tony. And I kind of, even if he wasn't mad at us, I have no problem with that because he's a lap car, and I probably would feel the same way if I was in his shoes. I'm like, I'm not going to help somebody. I'm not going to influence what happens here. But so I was on my own. And you can see as I'm running those last 20 laps or so, trying to find a way around Tony, how I'm lifting off the gas and backing up and trying to and then get back on the gas and trying to figure out where I needed to time the run, so that as I'm accelerating back up toward Tony, where did I need to be on the racetrack? What was it off of 2? Was it into 3? Off of 4? Where did I need to be when I was catching him? When I was getting right to him, right? And so I was trying to test that out for multiple laps. I had nothing else to do, right? I had nothing else going for me. That was all. And so, Tony wasn't just going to lay over. And so as you're watching this in-car, you can see me sort of going part throttle, three-quarter throttle, and getting further and further back, and then mashing the gas and running up toward him and seeing, okay, didn't time it right. That didn't help. That didn't develop anything. But there's one particular time where, for whatever reason, we got the run timed perfectly as he's exiting 4, and he's sort of bogged down on corner exit a little bit. And we're accelerating just at the right point where he's probably his weakest. And I think, I don't know if I faked high or not, but I get underneath him through the front straightaway, and we ran side by side for a lot, almost half a lap or so, down the front straightaway, off into turn 1 and 2. And we're running around the bottom of 1 and 2. And Tony's up on the top of the racetrack against the wall. Kurt's up there, a couple car lengths behind him. And we come off of turn 2, and Tony clears me by an inch. I mean, he's clear by just an inch or so. And I'm really tucked right into his left rear bumper, trying to create some side draft. And I'm almost losing it. I'm like, the side draft's almost broken. Like I'm not close enough up to his left rear to get it to work, but it's just barely there, and it starts gaining more, and it starts happening, right? The side draft starts happening. And as I start to ease up his quarter panel, the side draft is getting stronger and stronger, and the effect that it's having on my car, pulling me forward and pulling him back. And then we bumped. I'm trying to side draft him so tightly that we can, I touched his door with my tire. And as soon as I touched him, it knocked like a mile an hour out of his car. It like kind of stopped, it did something where we kind of stopped him. And so that was unintentional, but it still played a role. And I side drafted him and jerked the car to the left, pull away from him, so that now as I'm moving past him, he can't side draft me. But he could have turned down the racetrack and tried to. He didn't. I was so surprised that, man, he didn't try to side draft me and keep himself beside me. I think he would have eventually won the battle. Kurt would have probably ended up, assisting him somewhat to be able to reclaim the lead. But he just sat up there against the wall as we kind of moved on by. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. I love to go back and kind of watch that and relive that. The 2014 race was just, the long rain delay was kind of miserable, but I remember just being completely two different people. The first half of the race and then the second half of the race. I felt like in the first half of the race, I didn't feel like we had anything going for us. I didn't feel good about what I was doing. I didn't feel in rhythm with the car or the race. I didn't think any of the moves or choices I was making were doing anything. And if the race hadn't rained out, we would have probably steadily been that way the whole day and, maybe got lucky and finished in the top 5, but probably not won the race. During the break, I always felt like when we would have the rain delay breaks that as a driver, you could fall asleep mentally. Like you would disconnect from the moment, right?
Absolutely.
And so I always thought, man, that's an advantage for me. If these guys sort of disconnect from the moment, lose the energy, right? Lose the passion for what we're doing that day. Some people do, right? They sign out. They check out. And maybe they don't even know they're checking out. But they're like, damn, I'm tired. I'm just ready to get this over with. That's when they're done. They're checking out. When somebody's, when somebody was walking up to their car after a long rain delay and they're like, damn, I hope we can get this in. I'm ready to go home. That guy ain't going to win the race. And so, especially not a technical mental race like a plate race. So I'm sitting there thinking, man, I might improve my chances as this rain delay gets longer and longer. And so when we got out there to finish the race, then I just drove like a jerk. Anytime anybody got up beside me, like there was a long time when it was me and Biffle up front. Mm-hmm. And Biffle got on my outside, and I'm like squeezing him against the wall. And so he's like a couple inches off the wall. I'm a couple inches off of him, and I could stall him out. Our cars would start fighting over the cow pressure. And I was like, you ain't going anywhere, buddy. I didn't have any help behind me.
You ain't going anywhere. You checked out mentally during the rain break.
Well, he's one of the guys that didn't check out. Like me and him, like stayed in the moment. And by the time we buckled back in, it was either me or Biffle gonna win that race. And so, but I didn't have any drafting help on the bottom. And I remember like piling him into the wall down the back straightaway, just stalling his car out. And everybody behind him's like stacked up behind him, and they're afraid to push him because we're so close. Like a push could crash us all out. And so, but I was my only way to stall him and stop him and hold him there and wait for help to push me back into the lead. So I just remember those things happening, and I'll watch the races back to remember those specific moments. It's pretty fun.
That 2014 race was my first Daytona 500, and I was in the stands, and I remember you had that victory lap, the Polish victory lap at the end of the race.
I always loved turning and looking at the fans. We would win. Anytime we won at Daytona, you wanted to – the crowd reaction, man, really sort of is – it's part of the experience. And so the best way to get that right is to turn around and go the wrong way. My first Daytona 500 was my first Daytona 500 behind the wheel of a car. You would think, right? All my life I would have seen a Daytona 500 in person before that. But I'd never been to the Daytona 500. Even when I was racing in the Xfinity Series in 98 and 99, I went home after our race. And, so the very first Daytona 500 I ever witnessed was the 2000 as a rookie.
How cool is that? Yeah. That is cool. I did not know that. This next question, we saw a bunch of these on social media. What'd you think of the Super Bowl? Did you have a favorite commercial?
Well, I didn't really think that any of them stood out this year. For some reason, the game.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah, and I was okay with this. The game was so good, mm-hmm. right, that it didn't matter that there wasn't any of those impact. Them commercials that sort of make an impression on you. I will say, there's been some good ones over the decades that we've been watching the game. One thing that I miss is the Bud Bowl.
I almost tweeted that because I thought that there was a notable lack of Budweiser anything. Yeah. Bud Light. I mean, I saw the Mick Ultra things. I wasn't that impressed. I thought Anheuser-Busch used to own the Super Bowl, and now there was nothing. And I'm like, God, bring back the Bud Bowl, man. Yeah. Something.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. The Bud Bowl as a I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how old I was when that Bud Bowl was happening, but I was pretty young.
Time ago.
Right. I mean, it was fun. I mean, you were like, hey, I can't wait till the next installment of the Bud Bowl comes on, whenever that is, to tell us what the update of the score is, right? I want to get an update on this game.
Them bottles are getting hostile out there, right?
Yeah. And so I don't know. I know if I guess it wouldn't be as good now because you know it's a commercial. You know it's an ad, right? But when back then it didn't feel like an ad. It felt like a totally different game that was going on that you really wanted Bud Light to win, right? You wanted. But they were never going to let Bud Light win, though. You know that, right?
Well, it's the Bud Bowl. It's not the Bud Light Bowl. Yeah. But they had multiple Bud Bowls, right? I mean, like there was 1, 2, 3. Yeah. They had the Roman numerals, just like the Super Bowl.
Little bottles with the helmets on them.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
But like I'm with you, man. Nothing stood out. I think the creative agencies are just trying too hard to have this. They're going to get these stars, and I don't know, man. It just their creativity, is just not hidden for me.
Yeah, it was a little flat, but it's okay. I think it's okay because I mean there are the years where I walk away from the Super Bowl and go, man, it was 2 great commercials. I mean that's the problem. I don't want to. I want to walk away and go, you believe that game?
Yeah.
What a hell of a game that was. Yeah, cool. Yeah, a couple cool commercials, but the game. And that was a good game. Now, I know a lot of people were upset about that one call that, the I read about that on social media. I really didn't think it was a big deal till I saw some reactions from some of the, insiders and so forth in the
Oh, I thought it was
NFL.
a big deal.
You did?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't. I mean, I've gotten so sort of numb to the officiating, and
you expect it.
Yeah, especially after being a Commanders fan this year. Last couple of games we had, there was some terrible calls. But
was that their problem? Is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, who's your team, buddy? You don't even have.
I don't have an NFL.
You don't
team.
have a team.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. What kind of person doesn't have a team?
In the NFL,
you can't just literally lightly choose a team and sort of somewhat
wouldn't that make
claim somebody?
Yeah, if I don't have a reason, wouldn't that just kind of make me a fair weather? Isn't that the worst type of fan?
Nope.
Yeah, it is.
No, it ain't.
It is.
You know what? I appreciate all you fair weather Earnhardt fans out there. Don't listen to Mike. We like
true Earnhardt fans hate fair weather fans.
We like the diehards, but we also like the ones that are fair weather and
you have to say that.
Oh, I do.
But all the true fans know better than that.
Man.
Nobody likes a fair weather fan.
Mike, you're just not jumping on any bandwagons.
Exactly. That's my point.
I don't
need to jump on a bandwagon. That's not a fan. A fan doesn't jump on bandwagons.
Well, pick a bad team. They don't have bandwagons.
Yeah, they need fans. There's some teams out there that do need that.
Come on, Mike. Let's start a campaign.
You want to pick a team for me?
Let's start a campaign to find Mike a team.
You're a free agent fan. That's what you are.
I could be wooed. Oh, I could be wooed, but I got to have a reason.
Maybe
listen. So far, and this isn't enough reason to declare a fan, like buy gear and everything. But a lot of I'm a college football fan and I'm an Alabama fan, and there's nothing that go even come close to that.
Okay.
But if Washington goes and signs all these Alabama players like they do, I do take notice.
Yeah.
All right.
Fan of the players.
I do actually have a shirt that Dale gave me, a Washington shirt that he gave me when we went up to Lambeau.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Okay.
He doesn't remember.
We'll move on to the next one.
Nothing.
This next one's coming from Twitter, from Alonzo Lemons. He said, do you have any good stories of drivers trying to gain weight before the first weigh-in of the year, which I think is Wednesday, tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Spencer should do that.
I heard, I heard Casey Mears got caught with a bunch of washers and stuff in his pockets.
He did?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Casey Mears.
Rebel. I think when I first, I think Tony Jr. had me put some stuff in my shoes once. Man, listen, so when you go, let me explain how this works.
Okay.
All right. This is really simple. So, I don't know if it's the same today as it was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but if you weigh 170 to 180, your race car can weigh X. If you weigh 180 to 190, your race car has to weigh, 5 pounds less or more. So every 10 pounds is a weight break, if you will. So we would want to weigh more to be able to take weight out of the car. And I I was hovering around 178, and Tony Jr.'s like, man, we need to assure that you're going to go over 180 on that scale. We got to. And so you'd carry around 5 pounds of washers or something in your shoes, or some teams might even make a shoe with a lead sole in it. You would put on a special pair of driver's shoes that might have a lead sole in the bottom of it, or a lead heel. And so, you just needed 5 pounds. You weren't going to walk around with 40 pounds
Right.
of weight. You're just trying to make sure that you're in that next bracket. Now, if you were 178, you weren't going to try to get into the 190 bracket because NASCAR would say, well, it's obvious that you're not 190, 195. It's obvious. And I think that's what Casey Mears did. He tried to go
215, Casey Mears.
Casey Mears tried to step up 2 weight classes instead of just going 5 pounds.
Casey Mears, he's like those fishermen that were sitting there at the scales, holding up their fish, and they
I'm
got cut
sure-
open and all those weights.
I'm sure there were, some lead-filled flip phones back in the day, and
Next day.
all kinds of things that people were trying to pull off. So,
Did you get caught?
never,
Mm.
no. But it was, it was easier for me just to weigh 181, 183. So like Tony Jr.'s like, hey, we got to weigh in the 180s. You can't be 178. What are you? And I'm like, I'm probably going to be under. And so he's like, okay, put this in your shoe, put this in your pocket, blah, blah, blah. And so the next year I came knowing I was going to be over 180 and I didn't need any weight.
Eat a big meal right
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Never mind, he's walking up to the scales like he has stilts. Like those clowns at the
Yeah.
circus that are walking with stilts.
Dragging your feet across the floor like you're
Right.
walking on the bottom of the ocean.
Right. Like he's got scuba gear on.
What's the scuba helmet for?
Right. Nothing. It's my new helmet.
These things are heavy.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. There's nothing that gets unlooked these days.
No. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I was talking about this with somebody else, talking about the Darlington Museum. At Darlington Motor Speedway, there was a Hall of Fame museum. And in that museum was a case, I don't know if it's still there, of old cheated up parts from the 60s and 70s and 50s even. And they're obvious, right? When you look at those parts, it's like, dang, that's like so obvious. I'm looking right at it. I know exactly what they're trying to do. But nowadays, everything's so, not only is it so measured and scrutinized and the rule book's so thick, the creativity and where guys can find some advantages is almost invisible. It's hard to see from the naked eye, and you don't know what you're looking at unless you're the one who created the idea.
Yeah.
I got a question. Hold up on the scales. Remember when Daytona redid their whole fan zone, and then all of a sudden the scales they were very visible for fans? Did you ever find that to be embarrassing? Or because I remember that it's almost like a weigh-in for a UFC fight where people then could comment on, they'd flash a big number for all the fans to see.
Yeah.
And you would hear not necessarily you, but you would hear people like, damn, eat a salad or something like that. Because it's like you're weighing in front of an audience now.
I don't care what the weight was. I think I would, if I was a fan at the fence, I would holler that at everybody.
That's right.
Eat a salad.
That's what would happen though.
Oh man, look at him. Eat a salad.
Fat ass.
All right. I think we have time for one more quick one. And this one's coming from Daniel. What's your reaction to hearing the Earnhardt name in music and song
Oh,
references?
that's a good one. That is a good question, Kirk. Man, it's good questions this year.
Carlin didn't ask it. He just read
but
it.
you gotta
Gotta pick 'em?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
You're raising the standard here. I think it's awesome. Anytime I hear the Earnhardt name in music, anytime that Dad's ever referenced in a song, I've never heard anybody say anything negative. So luckily, it's always been something positive. But it's awesome. I mean, especially after all these years. Back when he was successful, people were writing songs about him when he was alive. That was cool. But 20 years later, after his death, they ever have somebody reference him today is it's just cool, because that was I've said it a million times, and I hate to repeat myself over and over, but that's the one thing you worry about, is that as we get further and further removed from his death and his career and all those things, is that people just won't know the impact. And I know that is going to happen. It is inevitable. We already see that. I see that when we go to the Hall of Fame and look at the guys that we think ought to be in there. And man, people just don't know this guy's career. He raced in the 50s or the 60s, and we just can't feel the impact that he had on the sport because it was so long ago and none of us lived to see it. And that's going to be the case for all of us one day. And so luckily Dad's impact was so significant that it still resonates with some people today.
This question came in yesterday, so Travis and I looked up how many specific Earnhardt references came up. How many would you guess are out there?
In music.
Ooh.
A dozen?
Oh,
More than that.
you got to go way more.
Yeah.
2 dozen.
139.
Oh, my God. Really?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And that's just the Earnhardt name, but then he also brought up how, even like there's a new Luke Combs song that came out, Chase Rice, they referenced the number 3 as well. So there's even more than that. So I found that was interesting.
What's the greatest? What's the greatest song that has Earnhardt in it?
I don't know. Like there's a lot. What do you like, Dale? That comes to mind.
Well, what's the I'm singing it right now in my head. Southern Voice.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
By Tim McGraw.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 3 drove it.
Yeah.
I just, that's one of them songs where it's a number 3, and instead of Dad's mention the name Earnhardt, that is as cool to me as him saying the name, and just to include Dad and all the other things mentioned in such a cool song, right? For Dad to be thought of in such a way is really cool.
All right. I think that is cool. I think that's a good place to end Ask Junior.
Man, that's great. Good job there, everybody, for sending in some great questions. Those were fun. Anyways, man, let's wrap this up. This was a good show, Dirty Air. We talked about the Daytona 500. We talked about Florence for all y'all that are still tuned in. We talked about the new short track package coming in NASCAR this year for the Cup cars, and hope to see some of y'all on Daytona. But anyways, yeah, follow, support us, listen to our shows.
Yeah, tomorrow we might as well say who the guest is for tomorrow's episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Steve Meal is the guest for this week. Steve will be on tomorrow. And then obviously don't forget Thursday, we'll have our final episode of Dale Jr. Download this week. And we'll be handicapping after the qualifying results, we'll have an idea who we think is going to win the duels. And maybe we'll change our picks for the Daytona 500. But we got a lot of other stuff to go over on Thursday's show. But Steve's going to be a lot of fun to talk to. And I've heard some interviews he's done, and he's a great storyteller, so I'm excited to have him at the studio. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 412 is in the books.
We are.